We live in a culture that prizes effort. We are taught that if we want something badly enough, whether it's a career, a skill, or a relationship, we must work tirelessly to achieve it. And while this approach works beautifully for professional success, it can be disastrous in romantic dynamics, particularly when it comes to creating attraction and deepening a man's commitment. In my years of speaking to women about their love lives, a recurring theme emerges. At first, he was all in. He texted first, made plans, and pursued me. But somewhere around date 3, 4, or 5, he started to pull back. Suddenly, I'm the one checking in, reminding him about plans, or making sure we don't lose touch. And honestly, it feels exhausting. Sound familiar? If so, you're not alone. It's incredibly tempting in these moments to step in and fix the situation. After all, you like this man. He seems so promising. You fear that if you don't take action, he might drift away. So you nudge, you check in, you send the first message, you start doing for him what he should be doing for you. And then, something counterintuitive happens. The more you try to make things happen, the more his interest fades. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." In dating, this wisdom is gold, because when you are anchored in your authentic self, your joy, your aliveness, your inner worth, you naturally inspire a man to lean in. You don't need to chase. You don't need to perform. You don't need to overfunction in the relationship. Your greatest leverage isn't in what you do for a man. It's in who you are with him. The masculine-feminine dynamic. Let's be clear. When I speak about masculine and feminine energy here, I'm not talking about gender roles in a rigid, outdated sense. I'm talking about energetic tendencies. In romantic polarity, masculine energy drives, pursues, and takes action. Feminine energy receives, inspires, and responds. When you are in your feminine essence, grounded, open, radiant, you create the perfect space for a man in his healthy masculine to step forward. You are like a warm, inviting light in the darkness, and like moths to a flame, men who are interested will naturally come closer. But when you begin to take over his role, organizing every plan, initiating every conversation, managing the relationship progress, you unconsciously flip the polarity. Now you are in pursuit. And for many men, that's the moment the magic starts to fade. Why doing more creates less desire. Men, especially those in their healthy masculine, are most engaged when they are actively pursuing something or someone they value. This doesn't mean you should play manipulative games. It means you honor the natural way attraction is built. Imagine you give a man a precious gift every time you see him without him having to lift a finger. At first he's delighted, but over time, without the effort of earning it, the gift loses meaning. This isn't because he's ungrateful. It's human psychology. We value most what we've invested in. Carl Jung also noted, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. For that transformation to occur, both people need to be engaged in the alchemy. If you are doing all the emotional labor, the balance is broken, and instead of a healthy reaction, the connection fizzles. Step 1. Replace doing with being. This is the first and most foundational principle in getting more from a man by doing less. Doing in this context means initiating every conversation, reminding him of plans, constantly checking in to gauge his interest, trying to fix his lack of attention with more of your attention, overcompensating for his inconsistency. Being means showing up authentically in your interactions, enjoying your life fully outside of him, bringing your best energy, presence, and openness when you do connect, allowing space for him to take action, trusting that the right man will take action. When you shift from doing to being, you stop filling every gap in the connection with your own energy. This gives him room to step up or not, and that or not is crucial, because it reveals his true level of interest and investment, without you having to interrogate him. The inner work of being. This isn't about passively waiting in a corner for a man to knock on your door. It's about actively embodying your fullest self. so that you radiate the kind of energy that draws the right men toward you. Here's what being can look like in practical terms. 1. Cultivating joy. Spend time doing what lights you up, whether that's dancing, hiking, painting, or deep conversations with friends. 2. Practicing presence. When you're with him, put your phone away. Be fully there. Make him feel like he's the only man in the room. Not through flattery, but through genuine attention. 3. Embracing silence. Resist the urge to fill every pause in conversation or every day without contact. Space allows attraction to breathe. 4. Honoring your boundaries. If he starts fading, don't chase. Hold your standard that you only invest in men who show consistent effort. Why this works? When you're rooted in your own being, you communicate, without words, that your life is full and valuable, with or without him. You invite him to step forward and invest, rather than rescuing him from the discomfort of making effort. You filter out men who are only half interested, freeing your energy for those who truly want to build with you. And perhaps most importantly, you feel more peaceful. You're not anxiously strategizing your next move. You're simply living your life, receptive to love, but not dependent on it for your worth. A practical example. Let's say you've been on 3 dates with a man, and he suddenly slows his texting. Instead of sending a "Hey stranger, haven't heard from you" message, you do nothing. You keep living your life. You enjoy your weekend. You let him notice the gap and decide whether to bridge it. If he values you and is interested, he will. If he doesn't, you've just saved yourself months or years of trying to squeeze water from a stone. Jung emphasized individuation, the process of becoming your truest self. In love, individuation means resisting the urge to merge your identity into a man's attention or lack thereof. It's trusting that your wholeness is magnetic enough on its own. By being rather than doing, you are not only creating space for the right man to show up, you are also honoring your own path of self-actualization. If you took the first step, seriously, replacing your urge to do with your commitment to be, then congratulations. You've already begun changing the rules of your love life. You're stepping out of frantic effort and into calm presence. But presence alone isn't enough. You also need clear criteria for where to place your time, energy, and heart. And here's the truth many women find painful at first. Not every man deserves your investment. This might sound harsh, but it's a truth rooted in deep respect for your own worth. The problem with half-hearted interest. We all know the type. He's warm one moment, cool the next. He texts regularly, then disappears. He makes plans and cancels or forgets. He says sweet things, but his actions don't match his words. This wishy-washy behavior is confusing and exhausting. It leaves you constantly wondering, is he really into me? Should I give him more time? Am I overreacting? Here's what's going on beneath the surface. Men who are half invested are often testing the waters, keeping options open or unsure themselves. Their mixed signals aren't about you personally. They're about their own internal conflicts or life circumstances. But because of the inconsistency, you're left carrying the emotional weight, trying to stabilize the relationship from your side. Carl Jung said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." If you find yourself continually frustrated by a man's inconsistent investment, it's a signal. It's asking you to clarify your standards and your boundaries, not to lower them. Why heavy investment matters. I emphasize the word heavily because a little effort won't do. To create a relationship that feels nurturing and joyful, you want a man who doesn't just occasionally show up. He consistently shows up. This heavy investment looks like regular, reliable communication without prompting from you, initiating dates, plans, and check-ins, following through on promises, demonstrating care and consideration in big and small ways, being emotionally available and vulnerable. When a man shows this level of investment, it signals that he values you highly, respects your time and heart, and sees a future worth building. How to spot a heavy investor early on. This might feel tricky because dating often starts with uncertainty, but there are clear markers. Does he make plans and follow through without reminders? Does he initiate contact as often as you do, or more? Does he express interest in your life, thoughts, and feelings beyond surface-level chit-chat? Does he demonstrate integrity? Meaning his words match his actions? If the answer to these is mostly yes, you're likely dealing with a man who is investing heavily. Why settling for less is so costly? Let me be blunt. When you settle for men who only half invest, you're spending your precious emotional currency on distractions. This depletes your energy and erodes your confidence. You start questioning your worth and wondering what's wrong with you. You begin chasing a man who isn't really chasing you. And over time, this can lead to emotional burnout and heartbreak. Carl Jung described the pain of disconnection this way. Loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you. With men who aren't heavily invested, you often experience this loneliness deeply, even in their presence, because the communication and connection aren't there. Protecting your energy by choosing wisely. The good news is, once you make a rule for yourself, I only invest in men who are heavily investing in me, you gain tremendous power. This doesn't mean you close your heart or become guarded. It means you honor your own needs and refuse to be a placeholder for a man who isn't ready to step fully into you. Think of your energy like a sacred currency. Every message, every date, every ounce of emotional energy you give costs you something. Spend it where there is a clear, mutual return. The power of saying no gracefully. Here's where many women get stuck. They feel guilty or afraid of missing out if they say no to men who aren't fully investing. But saying no is a profound act of self-love. It says, I know my worth. I honor my time and feelings. I trust that the right man will meet me fully. And you don't have to burn bridges or get defensive. A simple, kind thank you for your time, but I'm looking for someone who's ready to fully invest is enough. Jungian perspective on boundaries and authenticity. Jung believed in the necessity of individuation, the process by which we differentiate ourselves from the collective and become fully who we are. In dating, individuation means standing in your truth even when it's uncomfortable. It means refusing to dilute your essence to fit someone else's willingness or capacity. When you insist on a man's heavy investment, you are embodying Jung's call to authenticity. You're refusing to settle for less than your whole self deserves. Practical tips for upholding this standard. 1. Create a mental checklist. Before investing your time or emotions, quickly assess if he is showing consistent effort and intention. 2. Limit contact. If he's wishy-washy, don't respond to every message immediately. Let the balance shift. 3. Stay busy with your own life. The more you fill your time with your passions, friends, and growth, the less tempting it is to chase someone who's not fully present. 4. Reflect on past patterns. Notice if you repeatedly give energy to men who don't reciprocate. Awareness is the first step to change. 5. Seek support. Sometimes talking with a coach, therapist, or trusted friend helps you stay accountable to your standards. A story to illustrate. One woman I worked with, let's call her Maya, found herself constantly chasing men who said the right things but disappeared emotionally after a few dates. She felt drained and doubted if love was even possible for her. When she adopted the principle of only investing in men who showed heavy investment, she transformed her dating life. She stopped texting first, stopped accepting last-minute cancellations, and started saying no to anyone who wasn't consistent. It was hard at first. She felt lonely, but soon, a man who was steady, kind, and truly interested stepped into her life. And this time, she didn't have to chase. He was eager to show up because she had made it clear. She valued herself enough not to settle. Choosing to invest only in men who are heavily investing in you isn't about playing games or testing. It's about honoring your heart, protecting your energy, and clearing space for a healthy relationship to grow. By holding this boundary firmly and lovingly, you'll attract men who match your value and avoid the heartbreak of chasing those who won't. Embrace and enjoy the silence, the space where attraction grows. In the modern dating world, silence can feel like a void, an emptiness that triggers anxiety and confusion. You send a message and don't get a reply for a day, 2 or 3. Suddenly your mind races. Is he losing interest? Did I say something wrong? Should I reach out again? This space between communication often feels unbearable. The temptation to fill it with texts, calls, or even social media check-ins is overwhelming. But here's the paradox. The less you do to fill the silence, the more powerful your presence becomes. Why silence scares us? Silence represents uncertainty, and humans, especially those who desire connection, hate uncertainty. Our brains crave predictability, so when a man goes quiet, your mind floods with what-if scenarios. Carl Jung observed that one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. In this context, making the darkness conscious means facing your fears around silence instead of fleeing into compulsive communication. It means owning your discomfort without reacting to it. Silence as sacred space. Think of silence not as a problem, but as a container, a sacred space that holds potential. When you stop filling silence with words, you allow attraction to deepen. The space creates a natural pull. A man who values you will be curious and motivated to reconnect. Reflection to happen. Both of you get time to process feelings and thoughts without pressure. Your confidence to rise. You learn that your value doesn't depend on constant reassurance. The magnetic power of presence in silence. Being comfortable with silence signals emotional maturity and self-possession. It shows you are not needy or desperate for attention, but rather grounded and whole. Imagine being in a room with someone who doesn't rush to fill every pause with chatter, but simply holds a calm, warm presence. That presence is magnetic. It invites the other person to relax and show their true self. And in dating, that authentic connection is the foundation for lasting attraction. How to enjoy silence in practice. 1. Shift your mindset. Instead of thinking silence is bad or a sign he's losing interest, reframe it as a natural part of dating dynamics. A moment of rest, not rejection. 2. Focus on your life. Use silent stretches to dive into your passions, hobbies, and friendships. The more full your life is, the less tempting it is to panic over unanswered messages. 3. Practice mindfulness. When anxiety about silence hits, pause. Breathe deeply. Notice the sensations in your body without judgment. Remind yourself that silence is not a crisis. 4. Trust in his capacity to reach out. If he's genuinely interested and invested, he will find his way back to you without you having to remind or prod him. 5. Set clear boundaries for yourself. Decide on a personal policy, like waiting at least 3 days before initiating contact. If he hasn't, this creates structure and reduces impulsive check-ins. Silence and the dance of masculine and feminine energies. Recall the masculine energy thrives on doing, taking initiative, making plans and pursuing. The feminine energy thrives on being, receptivity, openness, and presence. When you fill silence with action, text, calls, questions, you effectively step into the masculine role. This can create confusion and imbalance, causing the man to retreat. Instead, when you enjoy the silence and embody being, you honor the natural polarity and allow the masculine to do what it does best, move toward you. Carl Jung on polarity and relationship dynamics. Jung said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. The silence between two people is like the space between atoms in a chemical reaction. It's not empty, it's charged with potential. Too much doing or filling that space can extinguish the spark before the reaction fully takes place." The courage it takes to enjoy silence. It's easy to say enjoy silence, but it takes real courage to practice it, especially if you've been conditioned to chase connection. You might feel vulnerable, afraid, or unsure. This is normal. But embracing silence is a form of radical self-trust. It tells the universe and yourself that you're worthy of love, without needing to manufacture it. Common pitfalls to avoid. Overanalyzing silence. Don't create elaborate stories about why he's quiet. Stick to facts. Has he stopped showing investment consistently? Or is this a normal pause? Checking his social media obsessively. This only fuels anxiety and often leads to misinterpretation. Filling silence with non-essential communication. Resist the urge to send "just checking in" or "what's up?" messages that dilute your energy. How this changes your dating experience. Women who learn to embrace silence report feeling more relaxed and less anxious in dating. attracting men who respect and pursue them genuinely, experiencing deeper, more authentic connections, saving emotional energy for relationships that truly matter. A story of transformation. I once coached a woman named Sarah who was terrified of silence. On dates, she'd flood a man with texts, trying to keep his attention. When he slowed down, she panicked and tried harder. After embracing the principle of enjoying silence, she shifted her mindset. When a man didn't text for 3 days, she focused on herself rather than chasing him. To her surprise, one man who was truly interested came back with more enthusiasm. And the connection grew stronger because she wasn't trying to control it. Silence is a natural, sacred space in dating. The less you do to fill silence, the more magnetic you become. Trust that a man who's truly interested will step into that space. Practice presence, mindfulness, and engagement with your own life during silent periods. Hold your boundaries and resist the urge to chase. Actions speak louder. Let me explain to you how to decode a man's true intentions and protect your heart. One of the biggest mistakes women make in dating is getting caught up in words instead of actions. A man can say all the right things, the sweetest compliments, the most romantic promises. But if his actions don't match, he's not fully investing in you. We'll explore why actions are the true language of love and how learning to read them saves you from unnecessary heartache, while allowing you to relax and do less. The problem with words alone. In early dating, it's easy to get swept away by what a man says. Compliments and verbal affirmations can feel wonderful, especially if you're craving validation. But words are cheap. Anyone can say you're amazing or I really like you, without meaning it deeply or following through. Carl Jung reminds us, words have power. They can bring healing or destruction, but only when paired with genuine intent. Without genuine intent behind words, they're just noise. Why actions reveal true intentions. Men, especially, tend to express their feelings through doing. This is a natural part of masculine energy. It's active, goal-oriented, and result-driven. When a man is truly interested, you'll notice. He initiates plans and follows through without reminders. He prioritizes spending time with you, even in a busy schedule. He pays attention to your needs and remembers details about your life. He invests emotionally by opening up and being vulnerable. He shows respect through consistent behavior. When actions align with words, that's genuine investment. Examples of misaligned words and actions. Let's look at some common scenarios. He says, I want to see you, but rarely follows up to schedule a date. He tells you you're beautiful, but doesn't initiate conversations or calls. He compliments your personality, but ignores your boundaries or feelings. He promises to call, but forgets or cancels repeatedly. These contradictions are warning signs. Carl Jung on authenticity and shadow work. Jung believed that everyone has a shadow side, the parts of ourselves we hide or deny. In relationships, recognizing shadow patterns in ourselves and others is crucial. A man whose actions don't match his words may be unconscious of his own shadow, perhaps fear of commitment, emotional unavailability, or avoidance. For you, the best way to protect your heart is to focus on what he does, not what he says. This practice helps you see through illusion and stay grounded. How to shift your focus from words to actions. 1. Pause before believing. Don't take verbal affirmations at face value. Watch what he does over time. 2. Keep a journal. Track his consistent behaviors versus empty promises. This clarifies patterns. 3. Ask yourself, is there follow-through? Words without follow-up are red flags. 4. Set standards for behavior. Know what actions mean a lot to you and hold men accountable. For example, if communication is important, he should respond within a time frame that feels respectful. 5. Communicate your needs clearly. Sometimes a man doesn't realize his actions hurt you. Express your feelings and observe his response. The freedom of doing less. When you stop trying to coax a man's feelings out through constant verbal communication, you free yourself from exhausting effort. By focusing on his actions, you save emotional energy by not chasing empty words. Build confidence in your ability to read people accurately. Create space for men who do want to invest to step forward naturally. The Jungian insight on relationship energy. Jung viewed relationships as energetic exchanges. When you give your energy to men who don't reciprocate through actions, the balance tips and you become drained. By aligning your energy only with men who invest actively, you maintain balance and attract healthier relationships. Practical example: trusting actions over words. Let's say a man texts you sweet messages daily but never plans a date. You feel good hearing from him but frustrated with the lack of real connection. Instead of trying harder to get him to commit, ask yourself, is he showing through action that he values me? If the answer is no, you have permission to step back and invest your energy elsewhere. How this protects your heart. Ignoring the mismatch between words and actions often leads to heartbreak. You get attached to a fantasy rather than reality. When you commit to observing actions, you stay grounded in truth, which safeguards your emotional well-being. After exploring the importance of being instead of doing, embracing silence and reading actions over words, you now have a powerful toolkit to transform your dating experience. In this final part, we'll focus on how to integrate all these principles into a graceful, magnetic approach that gets you the love you deserve with less effort and more joy. Presence, your most potent magnet. Presence is not just about physically showing up, it's about how you show up, emotionally and energetically. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." When you bring your authentic self to every interaction, your presence becomes magnetic. Being fully yourself, without masks or attempts to manipulate the situation, radiates confidence and peace. Men are naturally drawn to women who are secure in themselves because it signals safety and harmony. How to cultivate presence. Practice mindfulness. Focus on the here and now during dates and conversations. Listen deeply without planning your next move. Honor your feelings. Allow yourself to feel joy, curiosity, or even discomfort without reacting impulsively. Maintain self-care. Nurture your body, mind, and spirit. When you feel good inside, you naturally exude positive energy. Release the need to control. Trust the process rather than forcing outcomes. Boundaries. Your sacred lines of self-respect. Boundaries are essential to maintaining your dignity and emotional health in dating. They are the invisible lines that define what you will and won't accept. Jung noted, "The least of things with a meaning is worth more in life than the greatest of things without it." Your boundaries give meaning to your interactions. They show others what you value and how you expect to be treated. Key boundaries in dating. Investment balance. Only invest time and energy in men who consistently invest in you. Communication standards. Decide how often and in what way you want to be communicated with and hold firm. Emotional availability. Don't settle for men who are emotionally unavailable or inconsistent. Respect for your time. Protect your schedule and don't tolerate flakiness. Discernment, the wise heart's compass. Discernment means seeing clearly, recognizing who aligns with your values and who does not. It involves a combination of intuition, observation, and experience. According to Jung, intuition will tell the thinking mind where to look next. Use your intuition as a guide to interpret what you observe in a man's behavior and character. How to sharpen your discernment. Listen to your gut. Notice subtle feelings of ease or discomfort around someone. Observe patterns over time. One-off actions don't define a person, but consistent behavior does. Seek feedback. Sometimes trusted friends or coaches can help you see blind spots. Be willing to walk away. Discernment often means saying no to relationships that don't serve your highest good. Bringing it all together, the 3-step blueprint revisited. 1. Be your most authentic self. Replace frantic doing with centered being. Show up with your heart open and presence strong. 2. Invest only in men who invest heavily in you. Watch actions, not just words. Let go of those who are wishy-washy or inconsistent. 3. Enjoy the silence and trust the process. Silence is not a void but a space charged with possibility. Resist the urge to fill it with chasing or doubt. Why doing less gets you more. When you embody presence, set boundaries, and exercise discernment, you naturally attract men who are aligned with your highest value. You stop chasing after approval and instead invite genuine connection. Men sense your confidence and clarity, which inspires them to step up and pursue authentically. Dating doesn't have to be exhausting or painful. By embracing the wisdom of Carl Jung and applying these principles, you can shift from struggle to flow. You can create relationships that feel effortless because you are doing less and receiving more. Remember, who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. Carl Jung. Awaken to your own power. Be the woman who invites love not by trying harder, but by being more present, more whole, more true.